As parents age, they often face shifts in their relationships with their children, which can be emotionally challenging. Moments when children raise their voices, isolate themselves, or refuse to listen can feel like personal attacks, leaving parents frustrated and unsure of where things went wrong. However, these difficult moments don't have to lead to ongoing conflict. Instead, they can become opportunities for growth, understanding, and renewed connection. With over 25 years of experience, we'll explore 6 powerful strategies that can help parents approach these situations with calm confidence, ultimately strengthening relationships and fostering mutual respect. The power of calm. The first step in transforming conflict. Imagine this. You're caught in a storm, not a storm filled with rain or thunder, but a storm brewing within. Your child, frustrated and angry, has just raised their voice at you, ignored your requests, or slammed a door. In that moment, your heart races, your emotions flare up, and your instinct is to react. You may feel the urge to raise your voice, demand respect, or take control of the situation. But here's the critical lesson that many parents overlook. Reacting out of anger only fuels the fire. It's like trying to put out flames with gasoline. In the heat of the moment, emotions can cloud your judgment, and it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters, the relationship you share with your child. One of the most profound strategies that has helped countless parents is learning how to stay calm during moments of heightened emotion. Staying calm is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about giving yourself the space to process your emotions before responding. When you choose calmness, you create an opportunity for reflection, not just for your child, but for yourself as well. It takes incredible strength to maintain composure, but it is a choice that can change the entire trajectory of a difficult moment. How to stay calm. When everything inside you wants to explode, staying calm in the face of conflict requires practice, and it begins with something deceptively simple: your breath. In moments of intense emotional upheaval, our bodies react instinctively. Our pulse quickens, our thoughts race, and our muscles tense. But before you give in to that overwhelming urge to react, take a step back and focus on something that is always within your control: your breath. When anger rises, close your eyes, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly. Give yourself a moment to reset. In that moment, remind yourself that the current conflict is temporary, but the relationship with your child is long-term. This brief pause can create the space you need to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Let me share an example. A mother once told me about a particularly challenging argument with her teenage son. After a heated exchange, he stormed off into his room, slamming the door behind him. Her initial instinct was to run after him, confront him, and demand an explanation for his behavior. But instead, she paused. She sat down in the living room, took several deep breaths, and waited. Hours later, her son emerged from his room, and to her surprise, he spoke softly. "You were going to yell at me, weren't you?" he said. "But you didn't. That made me think about what I did." This is the power of calmness. It doesn't just prevent a further argument, it plants a seed of self-reflection in your child. Your choice to remain calm opens a door for growth, not just for your child, but for the relationship as a whole. Calmness provides space for emotions to settle, allowing both parties to move past the immediate tension and open the door to a more meaningful conversation. This simple act of choosing calmness over anger can transform the emotional dynamic of your household and pave the way for healthier, more respectful communication in the future. Empathy, the key to understanding and respect. Another critical strategy for improving parent-child relationships is empathy. As parents, it's easy to take your child's defiance or disrespect personally. When they snap at you, roll their eyes, or avoid eye contact, it can feel like an attack on your authority and love. However, one of the most important lessons I've learned through years of experience is that these behaviors often have little to do with you. Instead, they are a reflection of what your child may be struggling with on a deeper level. Their frustration, anger, or rebellion may stem from stress, insecurity, or unmet emotional needs. It's essential to understand that beneath these outward expressions of defiance lies a deeper story. Your child may be overwhelmed by school pressures, dealing with challenges in their friendships, or feeling unheard in other aspects of their life. Sometimes they may not even know how to articulate what they are feeling. As a parent, your role is to listen beyond the words and actions. Your goal is not just to discipline, it's to decode the message behind the behavior. Approaching defiance with empathy. When your child lashes out, instead of immediately reacting with frustration or anger, take a moment to pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is my child trying to tell me? This shift in mindset, seeing your child's actions as an opportunity to understand them better rather than as a personal challenge, can make a profound difference. Empathy involves listening, not just to what your child says, but to what they may be feeling deep down. For example, one father shared a story about his teenage daughter who had been acting distant and lashing out at him for seemingly no reason. Instead of scolding her, he simply sat her down and said, "You've seemed frustrated lately. Is there something on your mind?" At first she resisted, but eventually she broke down and shared how overwhelmed she was with the pressures of school and relationships. That one moment of empathy shifted their dynamic from one of tension and frustration to one of understanding and connection. By showing empathy, you are not excusing poor behavior. Rather, you are validating your child's feelings and reinforcing the idea that emotions are natural. However, empathy doesn't mean relinquishing your authority. It's about balancing understanding with accountability. By acknowledging their feelings while maintaining clear expectations, you model how to express emotions in a healthy, respectful manner. The role of boundaries in building respect. While empathy is crucial, it must be coupled with the establishment of clear, firm boundaries. Boundaries act as guidelines that help children understand their responsibilities and the consequences of their actions. They are an essential part of any healthy relationship and provide structure and security, particularly during the turbulent adolescent years. However, the challenge lies in setting boundaries that are both firm and compassionate. Setting limits is not about controlling your child. It's about protecting their well-being and ensuring their growth. For example, let's say your teenager is consistently breaking curfew. It's easy to become angry and impose severe consequences in the heat of the moment. However, research shows that yelling or punishing in anger often leads to resentment rather than respect. Instead, a calm and consistent approach yields better results. Communicating boundaries effectively. To set clear boundaries, it's important to communicate your expectations calmly and firmly. For instance, if your child is late coming home, you might say, "Your curfew is at 9 p.m. because I care about your safety. If you are late again, we will need to take a break from phone privileges for a week." This tone is firm but not hostile, and it conveys that the boundary exists out of care, not control. It's important to explain the reasoning behind the rule. Instead of just saying, "You're grounded because you broke the curfew," explain that you set the curfew because it's your responsibility to ensure they're safe and protected. By communicating boundaries in this way, you help your child understand that your rules are motivated by love, not a desire to control. This understanding fosters mutual respect and helps to strengthen the parent-child relationship over time. The dangers of immediate reactions. In the heat of a difficult moment, it can be challenging to resist the urge to react immediately. When a child misbehaves, whether it's defiance, a temper tantrum, or an outburst, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting with anger or frustration. We may yell, lecture, or issue harsh consequences in an attempt to regain control of the situation. While these reactions may sometimes feel like they are necessary to assert authority, they often do more harm than good. Reacting impulsively to a child's misbehavior can escalate the conflict, leaving both the parent and child in a heightened emotional state. The immediate reaction may not allow time for reflection, either on the child's part or the parent's part. As a result, the underlying cause of the misbehavior often goes unaddressed, and the opportunity for growth is missed. Furthermore, when we react too quickly, we are teaching our children that immediate gratification is the solution to their problems. By quickly providing them with answers or punishment, we miss an important opportunity to guide them through self-reflection, which is one of the most powerful tools for long-term personal growth. Reflection as a tool for learning reflection is a key component of emotional and intellectual development. When we allow our children to have the space to reflect, we are teaching them how to think critically about their actions, the consequences of those actions, and how to make better choices in the future. Reflection is a vital step in developing self-awareness, empathy, and problem-solving skills. It gives children the opportunity to process their emotions and understand what led to their behavior, whether it was frustration, anger, confusion, or something else entirely. Imagine a scenario where a child has an outburst or behaves in a way that is hurtful or inappropriate. Instead of reacting immediately by issuing punishment, consider stepping back and giving them the space to reflect. After the situation has calmed down, you might say, "I can see you're upset. I think we both need some time to cool down. Let's take a break and talk about what happened when we're both feeling ready." This moment of pause allows both the child and the parent to collect their thoughts and approach the situation with a clearer mind. In these moments of quiet reflection, children can begin to ask themselves important questions, such as, "Why did I act that way?" or "What was I feeling in that moment?" This helps them connect their actions to their emotions and gives them a deeper understanding of why they may have acted out of character. By guiding them through this process, parents can help their children understand their emotions better, which is essential for emotional intelligence. Trusting the process. Growth takes time. One of the most important aspects of reflection is giving it time. Growth doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen in the heat of the moment. Children need time to process what they've done, reflect on their feelings, and understand the impact of their actions on themselves and others. Rushing this process or demanding immediate results can lead to frustration for both the child and the parent. Instead, parents should trust that their child will come to their own understanding in their own time, which is a natural part of the developmental process. This doesn't mean that parents should avoid addressing the issue altogether. It simply means allowing time for reflection before diving into a conversation or consequence. For example, if a child comes home late after curfew, a parent might choose to wait until the child is calm before discussing the situation. During this waiting period, the parent can also take time to reflect on the situation from their own perspective, ensuring that they approach the conversation with a level head and empathy. By stepping back and allowing space for growth, parents are also teaching their children an important lesson about self-discipline. The ability to pause, reflect, and consider one's actions is a skill that extends beyond the home. It is a tool that children will carry with them throughout their lives, helping them navigate not just childhood, but adulthood as well. Whether it's in personal relationships, in the workplace, or in their own future families, the ability to reflect and learn from mistakes is invaluable. Teaching reflection through example. As with any parenting approach, leading by example is essential. If parents want their children to reflect on their actions, they must also model this behavior. Children learn by watching the adults in their lives, so when parents show the ability to pause and reflect in challenging situations, they teach their children to do the same. For instance, if a parent makes a mistake or loses their temper, instead of brushing it off or ignoring it, they can model self-reflection by saying something like, "I didn't handle that situation well. I got frustrated and I should have taken a moment to calm down before reacting. I'm sorry for raising my voice. Let's talk about this now that I'm feeling calmer." This kind of modeling shows children that it's okay to make mistakes, but it's also important to reflect, apologize, and learn from those mistakes. When parents admit their own imperfections and show vulnerability, they create a safe space for their children to do the same. It reinforces the idea that growth is a lifelong process and that self-awareness is a key component of becoming a better person. This approach helps children develop empathy for others and teaches them that everyone, including their parents, is on a journey of growth. Reflection in real-life parenting scenarios. Let's consider a more concrete example of how reflection can play out in everyday parenting. Suppose a child has a temper tantrum when told to do their homework. Initially, the parent might feel anger or frustration, especially if the child's behavior is disruptive. However, by pausing and reflecting, the parent might recognize that the child's tantrum is not just about homework, but about an underlying feeling of overwhelm or insecurity. Perhaps the child is struggling with a particular subject or feels they are not good enough to succeed. Instead of immediately reprimanding the child for their behavior, the parent can use the moment to reflect and address the deeper issue at hand. The conversation that follows might look like this. I noticed you got really upset when I asked you to start your homework. Can we talk about it? Is there something that's making you feel frustrated or anxious about it? This approach allows the child to reflect on their feelings and opens the door for meaningful communication. It creates a moment of connection rather than confrontation, fostering an environment where the child feels heard and understood. Moreover, parents can use this opportunity to guide the child in finding solutions. After understanding the root cause of the frustration, they can brainstorm together on ways to manage those emotions moving forward, such as breaking the homework into smaller, manageable tasks or practicing calming techniques when frustration arises. In this case, the reflection is not only a tool for understanding, but also a means of finding constructive solutions that promote growth. The long-term benefits of reflection. Over time, the practice of allowing reflection to guide behavior can have lasting positive effects on a child's emotional intelligence, self-regulation, and interpersonal relationships. When children are given the space to reflect on their actions, they develop the ability to take responsibility for their behavior. They learn that actions have consequences, but they also learn that mistakes are part of the learning process. Additionally, reflection builds resilience. Children who are encouraged to pause and reflect before reacting are better equipped to handle life's challenges. They learn that not every problem needs to be solved immediately, and that sometimes taking a step back and reflecting on the situation can lead to better solutions. This approach fosters patience, understanding, and emotional maturity, qualities that will serve them well as they navigate the ups and downs of life. In essence, reflection provides a framework for learning from experiences rather than merely reacting to them. It encourages children to be mindful of their feelings, actions, and the impact they have on others. It gives them the tools they need to navigate the complexities of life with empathy and self-awareness. The impact of pushing for immediate resolution. When we immediately demand that our children apologize or admit their mistakes without allowing them the space to think things through, it can lead to defensiveness instead of growth. For instance, imagine a scenario where a child has lied about something important, such as their grades. As a parent, our first instinct may be to confront them, demand an explanation, and then expect them to apologize. However, this approach often fails to teach the child why their behavior was wrong and only forces them to give a quick, insincere response in order to appease us. This type of forced resolution can stifle the learning process, leaving the child with a sense of resentment rather than understanding. They may feel pressured to apologize without genuinely reflecting on their actions or the consequences of their behavior. Instead of fostering growth, the child may end up feeling misunderstood or frustrated, providing space for reflection. A more effective approach. A more effective approach is to give children the opportunity to reflect on their actions. After addressing the behavior and calmly setting clear boundaries, step back and allow them time to process what happened. This space for reflection is where true understanding begins to take root. Children, like all of us, need time to think about their choices and the consequences those choices bring. It's in these moments of stillness after the emotions have settled that they begin to connect the dots between their actions and their impact on others. I recall a story I once heard from a father who found himself in a difficult situation with his teenage son. The boy had been caught lying about his grades, and naturally, the father's first instinct was to confront him immediately. He wanted to demand an explanation and force an apology, but this father chose a different approach. Rather than reacting with frustration, he calmly expressed his disappointment and explained why honesty was so important to him. Then, instead of pushing for an immediate apology, he told his son, "I want you to take some time to think about why you made that choice and how we can move forward. Let's talk tomorrow." That night, After some time to reflect, the son came to his father unprompted. He apologized and opened up about the pressure he had been feeling at school. By giving his son the time and space to reflect, the father not only received an apology, but he also gained valuable insight into his son's emotional state. This moment of vulnerability became the foundation for building trust and understanding between them. Why this works: the role of reflection in building emotional intelligence. When we allow our children the space to reflect, we are also teaching them an essential life skill: emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence involves the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions, as well as the ability to understand the emotions of others. By giving our children time to reflect on their actions, we are helping them develop a deeper understanding of their emotions and how those emotions influence their behavior. This approach not only allows the child to process their feelings, but also encourages them to take responsibility for their actions in a meaningful way. Instead of reacting impulsively, children learn to pause, think, and make thoughtful decisions. Over time, this helps them develop stronger emotional regulation skills, which are critical in all aspects of life, whether in school, relationships, or their future careers. The journey of growth, patience, and trust in the process. It's important to remember that growth is not always immediate. Not every lesson will take root the first time it's taught. Just as with gardening, some seeds take longer to sprout than others. There may be times when we don't see the results of our efforts right away, and that can be discouraging. It's easy to feel like nothing is working, especially in the fast-paced world we live in, where we're accustomed to instant gratification. But true change is a gradual process, and each moment of reflection, no matter how small, contributes to the larger journey of growth. As parents, it's essential to trust the process and resist the urge to force immediate results. Sometimes the most effective thing we can do is step back and give our children the time they need to come to their own conclusions. By doing so, we empower them to take ownership of their personal growth and learn from their mistakes in a way that feels authentic and meaningful. Final thoughts: embracing the journey of parenting. Parenting is a journey that requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to trust the process. Each day offers new opportunities for growth, both for parents and children. By embracing the power of reflection, we can guide our children toward emotional maturity, self-awareness, and responsibility. The next time you find yourself in a difficult situation with your child, take a moment to pause. Instead of rushing to fix the problem or demand immediate answers, create space for reflection. Trust that, over time, your child will process their actions, learn from their mistakes, and come to you when they are ready to talk. Parenting is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up for our children, providing them with the space they need to grow, and trusting that they will become the thoughtful, responsible individuals they are meant to be. And remember, every small effort, every pause, every moment of patience matters. Together, we're shaping the future, one thoughtful choice at a time.